Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors League. This is round number 3 of this season, coming to you today from Sebring. My name is Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Now, Charles, after some rather well-known tracks on iRacing in the form of Alton Park and Sakup, but to get the season up and rolling, we head off to a well-known facility on a not very well-known track. The club layout of Sebring, I usually just associate with Formula V's, and it's a track so forgone on iRacing that our wonderful SDK graphics load up it with the old pre-2000 hairpin instead of the one we actually have. It is a bizarre track, this, and probably gonna see a rather unique style of racing, so to speak.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ron. It is. It's about half of the full Sebring International layout. So it just takes out so much of the drafting, and we'll get to the keys in a few minutes. But I think it took me about 10 minutes before I figured out where the pits were. So it's just because I'm not used to doing it. But we do have the keys, so let's go through those really quickly. This is a shorter, more technical version of the track. It takes out the big long drafts on the back stretch and the front stretch. The draft is going to have almost no impact. There's a couple of decent stretches there, what we call the between the normal turn 5 and turn 7, the hairpin. But for the most part, not really a lot of drafting ability. And then finally, the qualifying and pit stops, I think, are going to be really big factors in today's race. It's going to be difficult to keep your momentum up and make passes, so you need to be up as close to the front as you can. And then, like I said, the pit stops are just different than what we're used to doing here. So it takes a little bit, and there could be some mistakes made as far as pit entry speed and as well as pit exit speed. So it'll be something we'll have to keep an eye on.
In that pit stop dilemma, a fantastic point that you raised there, Charles. I mentioned how this track has been used in the past by the Formula Vs. I think the Formula Fords ran at this layout of the track in the first ever Weekend Warriors broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting many, many moons ago. But I don't think we've seen the Spec Racer Ford run here, at least in quite some time. So it would be a rather interesting race, for lack of a better term. As we already have 2 races in our rearview mirror, though, we can take a good look at the championship point standings as we head off into the third round of this season. We'll start off as per usual in Spec 1, where Nathaniel Schramm, after winning last time out at Tsukuba, currently holds on to the championship points lead. 201 is his current points tally over Lace Pleva, slotted in P2 at 172. Jason Green at a total of 160 points is in third, with Dirk Braun and Josh Justice running at the top 5 in the Spec 1 category. We'll take a quick gander now at Spec 2, where it's been looking pretty up and down, but Alexander Gorson has certainly proved himself to be a rather formidable contender after a win last time at Tsukuba, where he finished that race in third, if my memory serves me correctly. So a really good drive from Gorson there at Tsukuba 1 week ago. Ben Rycroft slotted in second, a past champion in the Weekend Warriors World. Thomas Renders, who started this season with a win at Alton Park in Spec 2, is slotted in third. Patrick Hawkey in P4. Paul Jackson rounds out your top 5 in that always very competitive Spec 2 category. And now we'll take a look at Masters, where Antonio Reese holds on to the championship points lead rather comfortably so at 143 points as his current tally. He's in front of Kurt Nunez in second, who's sitting at 119. He's only 2 points in front of Tom Gradwell at 117. Brad Cathcart is slotted in fourth, with Jurg Mani rounding out your top 5 in the championship points standings. So as we head off into the third round of this season, and as we're still early on in the show, we want to let you know that today's broadcast, as it will be throughout the entire season here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, has been brought to you by Metro Auto Rebuild. When it comes to repairing your vehicle after an accident, you'll hear a lot of different terms thrown around, like aftermarket or reconditioned parts, blended within the panels, spot refinish, direct repair program, the list really goes on and on. Before you make any final decisions, though, ask us for the true definition of those words. In most cases, they may not even be the best thing for your car, for that matter. If you want your vehicle restored using factory methods and specifications with OEM-required tools and equipment, depend on the professionals at Metro Auto Rebuild. We will give you honest answers about the repair process, your rights, and your responsibilities. You really want somebody who's there with you every single step of the way. We'll get you back on the road safely, timely, and with our guarantee that you will love our workmanship. Please let us answer any questions you may have about the repair process. We're here to answer your questions about estimates, insurance company coordination, and billing, as well as rental car coordination too. Visit our website anytime at metroautorebuild.com. We would like to thank Metro Auto Rebuild for sponsoring this season of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. And with that taken care of, I think we'll do an onboard lap here in a couple of moments with Jason Green. I do want to apologize to Guido for not giving the heads up about me doing the ad read. We're about to jump on board with Jason, but Charles, I'll pass it off to you to give us a lap guide around this rather bull ring-esque track.
Yeah, absolutely. Where the start point is right here. It's between Hotel and Cunningham, and then Cunningham is turn 2, as we have a little kink there before we get to this, as we'll roll through here in through Collier and turn 4, coming around and making our run down here into Tower, which is turn 5 on this track. We'll make this, see the Jason off the track there just a bit, and we'll make a quick turn. This is turn 6, and we're going through the club section now. It's a little cut through that will connect us back over to near the front straight section of the track as we're rolling around through 8, and then we're down here in Big Bend, which is 9, which takes us the run down into the hairpin, which will be turn 10. You can see this is probably the longest straightaway on the track, so any kind of drafting is going to happen there. Make our way through hairpin and out, and then the quick run back through 11, which is right here, and then back to our start finish line for a lap time that's about 1:10 in total. So it's about half of the time that would normally run for the full Sebring layout.
I'm trying to wonder what would be the quickest possible time around this racetrack on iRacing. I'm sure someone could probably lap around here in an F1 car in like 45 seconds. That may be something that I burn my brain cells trying to do after this broadcast is said and done. But anyways, we've got a qualifying session to talk about. Still a minute and a half left to go on the clock. And usually we'd be talking about these drivers being on their final laps right now, but again, very, very short lap, not a lot of room to work with. So you've got yourself a pretty good qualifying session left to look forward to here as we follow 2 Spec 2 competitors that are right next to each other out there on the racetrack and would be set to share the 8th row in the process as well. It's Josh Wilkie, currently qualified in P15, tailing Matt Thompson, qualified in P16. They're not top of the board, though, in Spec 2, as it's currently Dmitry Lukhanov leading that class in the 264 car. Jurk Monty is right in front of his main Masters competitor of Antonio Reese, and Ian Joyner, current provisional pole sitter. That's Flavio Andelo with the half spin coming out of turn number 8, and with time running out here, he'll only have one more attempt to get in a good lap time. Otherwise, Andelo got started way at the back.
Yeah, and that's probably not where you want to be for today's race with the short lap, as we're on here with Rivera coming through Cunningham now. Just was kind of looking around our lap times. We've got 22 cars within a second, which is normally what you'd expect for a short lap. So we got a very, very tight grid, which means that any draft that we're going to have is going to be kind of accentuated by the fact we've got so many cars tightly packed on the track. And we've got 42 cars out there to race today, so that's going to add another little wrinkle here. We haven't talked about the curbs, but the curbs are always a little bit sketchy with these cars, especially here at Sebring. So that'll be one of those little things we'll have to look at. We're back on board here with Lukhanov. Looking like he needs to call Metro Auto Rebuild, get a little front body work done as we ride back to with Antonio Reese, who is sitting right behind Jurk Monty, P8, 400ths of a second, the gap between those two cars.
I like that sponsorship shout out there, Charles. That was very smoothly done. Nicely played. That would probably help him out in these aero-sensitive Spec Racer forwards. Any sort of aero tweak can spell disaster for you. Even on this track where straight line performance not going to be the most vital, but can still be a little bit important. And just in terms of optics, as you want a good-looking race car here, and you want a good-looking car. So if you want your car to look a little bit better after a slight little fender bender out on the road, go to MetroAutoRebuild.com. There we go. Scott Russell jumps up to P16 right in the dying breath of this qualifying session. Checkered flag's already been out for a minute as Ian Joyner comes across the line. Not going to be able to improve there as he does avoid an incident with himself and Josh Justice, who came barely in like a bat out of hell. Justice currently qualified in P18 as it stands presently. We'll note as well, we've got an absolutely stacked starting grid, and based off the fact that Stevie usually throws a short pace lap our way, once we get that starting grid loaded up as soon as it is possible, we're going to have to gun through the starting grid. We'll say absolutely awesome to see the continued turnout all throughout this season, the 10th anniversary season in the SRFs.
Yeah, it's pretty great. 42 cars on the grid. And we did see Andelo go wide there. He actually did not set a time, so he will be starting at the back of the pack, probably in 41st. As we get this grid lined up here, and we'll see. Yeah, even if it's a full lap, we're not going to have a lot of time to get through these 42 names. So I think we're ready to go now as we've rolled over to the race session.
And here we go. We can get that starting grid loaded up for you. We'll let you know that Ian Joyner is going to start this race from the pole position. Kane Halliburton set to join him on the front row. It's going to be Felix Samoa starting this race in third next to Nathaniel Schramm, your race winner last time at. Dirk Braun going to start this race in fifth next to Edwin Rivera, your pole sitter from 1 week ago in sixth. Jörg Monty and Antonio Reis going to complete an all-Masters row number 4 with Monty grabbing the pole in that class. Dmitry Lukanov going to start this race in P9 from the Spec 2 pole with Jason Green joining him, rounding out your top 5. Looking right behind on row number 6, it is going to be, get the WD-40 out here, Colin Earl going to be starting alongside Thomas Renders. There's Joachim Osbeck starting alongside Alexander Gorson. Skip the row there. Josh Wilkie will start this race in 15th next to Scott Russell in 16th. It's got to be Matt Thompson starting this race in P17 alongside Josh Justice in 18th. Kevin Adrian will start this race in 19th with Ben Rycroft rounding out our top 20.
Yeah, Chris Murakami starts in 21st. Andy Middleton starts in 22nd. Karthik Pai starts in 23rd. Dan Woods starts in 24th. 25th is Andrea Favini. Paulo Brema starting in 26th. Adam Bradshaw 27th. Hugh Simpkins starts in 28th. Paul Jackson 29th. Tom Gradwell starts in 30th. Ian Gibson will start 31st. Marcel Gorson starting in 32nd. Brad Cathcart starts in 33rd. Christian Lisak starting in 34th. Kurt Nunes starts in 35th. Chris Thorpe starting in 36th. Nick Rycroft starting in 37th. Michele Valini starting in 38th. Jeff Jacobson 39th. Jason Grider in 40th. Flavio Andolo 41st. And Russ Telker rounds out your 42-car grid. 42 cars on a short track here in the Florida sun. It's going to be a great race.
Yeah, I feel like this race is going to be best comparable to the state of a Walmart parking lot on Black Friday with a half-price deal on flat-screen televisions. This is going to be absolute insanity from the start all the way through to the end. Now, usually, as we start off on these formation laps, I would give you a little bit of a fun fact before we get this race up and rolling. However, down to the fact that we have got a terrifying run down into turn number 1 and about probably 10 seconds before we get the start, I'll let you know that today's fun fact is, wow, race cars. This is going to be good for week number 3 of this season and that 1 week break after week number 2. But now we're here ready to rock for the third round of this Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors season, sponsored by Metro Auto Rebuild. That pace car turned down, and the green flag's out immediately after, and the drivers are on their way. Good start there, heading down into turn number 1. Everybody already running into some trouble a little bit farther behind. I think I saw some driver maybe pop a wheelie a little bit farther behind. Ian Joyner holds on to the race lead as they're spinning off through the turn. That's Colin Earl involved in some drama. He gets hit. Josh Wilkie, I think, kind of that drama as well. Wilkie avoids it. Earl, on the other hand, at the epicenter of some dramas there, 3 wide down into Tower Bend.
Yeah, it was a pretty good start. I mean, obviously Earl getting the worst of that, dropping down 7 positions, but for the most part, with the fact that we've got 42 cars compressed in about 200 yards, that was a pretty decent start by everybody involved.
The field is concentrated, even though we're about halfway through this first lap. They are still packed in like nobody's business as we jump back to the front and look at this battle. 2 Weekend Warriors and iRacing giants here, Ian Joyner and Kane Halliburton, duking it out up towards the front of the field. Halliburton, a driver that I have seen do well in all manner of race cars, whether it be in Formula 4 machinery, Spec Racer Ford machinery, Formula Fords, Radical SR10s, really does not matter. Oh, it's that spinning off the track. That's Chris Murakami spinning it up, heading out of the hairpin as Adam Bradshaw lost it entering.
Yeah, absolutely. It was those 2 cars, and I will say Dirk Braun also has lost 11 positions since the start of the race in some unseen instance, but he is right around Colin Earl, so that might have had something to do with it, as those cars have both dropped quite a bit during the start of this race, and we still have Joyner leading Halliburton at the front.
Ian Joyner holding on to a good spot right now as we look at the drama going on a little bit farther behind. That's Thomas Renders, who went for a quick trip off into the grass as he headed his way out of Tower Bend, now through the shortcut to get back onto the second half of the lap through 6 into 7. This is the usual 3, 4, and 5 section of this racetrack. Still very tough, though, even with that slightly less cramped run down into what is 7 and 8 on this layout.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're on board here with Antonio Reis, that's the first gap in our traffic. Antonio Reis in 6th. We've got that 5-car group up front, and he's got Jason Green, Jörg Monty, and Alexander Gorson just slightly behind.
We see side-by-side racing going on right now on the screen involving Dmitry Lukhanov. I think we may have had Thompson run a little bit wide off through there a few moments ago. So Matt Thompson picking up a slowdown along with Karthik Pai, who's dropped down, currently sliding P24 right now. As that is side-by-side racing, ending in tears with Dmitry Lukhanov sliding off the track and nearly ending up into the dirt as he headed his way down into Cunningham Bend. Technically on the iRacing track map, it's marked off as turn number 2, but the start-finish straightaway is actually after what they call turn 1 on this layout. It's confusing. I've been called out by it many times, but we'll just call it Cunningham. Great thing about having track corner names, we can refer to it as a name instead. The number is, holy cow, Scott Russell and Lukhanov throwing haymakers at each other.
Yeah, they really are. They're battling really hard. Russell has the advantage for now. We'll see if Lukhanov can get a run as we head down toward Hotel and the Hotel Hairpin, actually, and see if he can make a move. As we've got some other cars in the back. Favini, Josh Justice, Matt Thompson are all still jockeying for position. We're already almost 4 laps into this race.
Oh, that's Thomas Renders sliding off the track as he headed his way out of the hairpin. He has another slide a little bit earlier on in this race. And for your Spec 2 winner in the opening round of the season at Alton Park, things not working out for him in the slightest at the start of this race. Kane Halliburton has been able to jump into the race lead in the meantime. He's jumped in front of Ian Joyner. Felix Samo is still right behind there in P3. Nathaniel Schramm rounds out your top 4. Edwin Rivera, the driver who I believe made his debut last time out at Tsukuba, started that race from the pole position and really put in a good drive. Although we didn't get the victory, he really impressed. So look at Rivera to maybe get a good result today. As we jump to the replay to see Jason Grider involved in some drama, the 552 machine. This is down to the hairpin.
Yeah, he's sitting there just in front of Ondolo as we're headed down to the hairpin and just laid on the brakes, locks it up, takes the escape road, no contact with anybody. So nice job by Jason to keep the car just out of everybody's way as he's trying to get that thing slowed down. But you'll see quite a bit of that as they go work their way down into the hairpin.
Yeah, so drivers getting caught out by the braking zones very early on into this race. It's been a hectic start here at Sebring for round number 3 of this championship. And we're only 5 minutes into this absolute madness presently. Fastest lap of the race for Edwin Rivera. He holds on to P5 and really sent in some good lap times there. We jump to some battling a little bit farther behind. Dirk Braun running in P14. I gotta feel bad for our producer Guido. He has to be like a chameleon looking at about 16,000 different things at once. As here comes Josh Wilkie down the inside of our off into Tower Bend. He's gonna break out the muscle Earl off the track, but Wilkie gonna break his way up into the top 15. I think one of only a handful of racers to be in the exact same spot that they started this race in.
Yeah, good. That was a very strong move by Wilkie. Earl gave him plenty of racing room, and they made it through the corner. Wilkie takes position, and now he's just lost a couple.
I jinxed him.
Oh, here we go. Let's make sure. Oh, there's the kill. There's the kill. That was, I think, the 555. Paulo Brema, it was, and you could just see coming at the racing line coming out of the corner sideways. That was not where you wanted to be. It just was a matter of time with all these cars before he gets nailed, and we'll get a good onboard shot of it as from Brema's car as he's working his way through this corner. He's going to come around. He kind of sees it, but then doesn't, and then that's all there was. It's all that needs to be said, and that's the end of the day for probably Brema and Wilkie as well.
Nothing that Paolo Brema could have done there as we see Josh Wilkie stopped. Nothing that Josh could have done either. If he rolls forward and somebody else gets wiped up, then he's going to made out to be like the devil. So really nothing that he could have done there in that 777 car. As let's see the spin coming out of turn number 8 and hold on to the shot before Paolo Brema just came in with the shot directly to the left-hand side of Josh's car. A couple of cars avoid. Got a little bit close. Contact before, and then Paolo Brema just fires it in there. Nothing that either racer could have done there. That is basically what Paolo Brema was tasked having to avoid that collision, is basically telling somebody, okay, here's a small little shield made out of plastic and aluminum foil. Try surviving a nuclear blast with it.
Yeah, and it's, like I said, he was just in the racing line Everybody, Brema was probably 5 deep in a train, and they started checking up. And so your instincts are either check up or move, and he chose to move. And there was a car there, and nothing you could do at that point. He could have locked it down, but it still would have been heavy contact, as we're now on board here with a battle with Antonio Reese, Jason Green, and Jorg Monty, this second pack of cars that are 3.5 to 3.8 back. And as these cars up front stay in line, that gap kind of grows a little bit. But as soon as one of those cars steps out and starts challenging for position, that gap shrinks down. So that's what those guys are hoping for. They're hoping that those guys up at the front just start battling like crazy. But those are all very smart drivers that know that they probably shouldn't be doing that till at least afterwards. And we got Adam Bradshaw with a disqualification.
Oh, no, already. We've seen a lot of hecticness at the start. I can't necessarily say that I'm too surprised, but at the same time, I can necessarily say that I am surprised. As Andre Favini, that's a spin for him. That's coming at turn number 6. Around he goes. One thing to raise about turn number 6 on the curb on the outside of it, and you can tell just based off of various surfaces there, you got a small little, basically a sidewalk there on the outside of the turn along with that curb. So many different surfaces that you run on if you do run wide coming out there that, frankly, if you went off there in real life, it would feel like your head was getting dislodged from the top of your spine. It's so bumpy, as we see Adam Bradshaw already damaged on the front end of his race car. I think he just pulled over to the side trying to get out of harm's way. I think in the process of that, he got DQ'd before he could tow back.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Just obviously the car had been in the war, so it wasn't him off-tracking the entire time. It was basically contact. Those 4Xs add up quickly, especially when you're in a very small, tight track like we've got today. That might not be the first one we see. You're going to see lots of dead cars and lots of DQs probably today. So we'll see if we get any drive-throughs as well, and that'll be another little wrinkle that we'll throw into this race. As we're coming up on the 10-minute mark, we're only at 25% of this race through, and it feels like we've already done 50 minutes at Daytona.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think I was saying a little bit earlier on, and now we can crank it up and double the time. It's been 10 minutes. It's felt like 10 hours, and I think for some racers it's probably felt like 10 days, frankly. We have seen such frenetic racing up to this point that I feel like everybody is getting a bad case of whiplash. Alexander Gorson just sweeping around, actually just able to clock in the fast lap as that's Dirk Braun sweeping around the outside. And my two storylines I was going to mention crossed up in the tow. You can see both of these cars with pretty much the exact same bit of front-end damage. It's like walking around a concert and seeing everybody wearing the stamps on their hand from being allowed into the venue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's just, because it's been constrained racing, you're going to get another replay. This is Russ Telker, and he's coming through the hairpin, and just too much speed, got back on the throttle, maybe had the left side tires on the curb, and that curb is notorious for kicking a car across the track and into the barrier.
The hairpin strikes again, and the concrete barriers through there strike again. You know how I said during the Formula Ford race that the tire barriers aren't exactly loving? Well, the concrete barriers are about as welcoming as an asteroid. As actually you could see as Telker had his moment, Jason Greider had a similar moment through that turn. These Spec Racer Fords drive in a very unique way, and coming out of the hairpin, coming out of heavy turns and large on-throttle moments can be a little bit tough Michele Viglini, gonna center punch the wall, got a little bit squirrely coming out of turn number 6, and side-by-side racing into 7, gonna spin him off the track.
Yeah, he was side-by-side. Maybe that was Rycroft that he was racing with, and just the slightest bit of contact with all the weight on those left side tires and sends him across into the barrier as well. As we're still up here with this status quo in the front, Halliburton, Joyner, Samoas, Schramm, and now as we see Schramm looking to the inside, that's what those guys in that second pack want to see. They want to see those guys start to fight for spots.
Colin Earl and Dirk Braun have been battling for a vast majority of this race. Pretty much the exact same bit of damage on their race car to a T. Looks like identical twins as they had their way side by side through the hairpin, and we are going to see them continue to go side by side out of it. This racing is so close that's caused me to really lose the words and the similes and everything to say about the racing action we've had. It's been frenetic, insane, crazy, wild, insert phrase here. It's been absolutely fantastic, though, here for round number 3, as it is still Colliner on the outside. Dirk Brunk, no!
And now Dirk has reconfigured the front end of his car a little more. And he's going to continue on as more damage being inflicted. Obviously not having a good day. I think when we get done with this race, if we put a poll out, you're going to have about 20 drivers that really enjoyed this race and about 20 drivers that really hated this race. And that's going to be kind of the mentality of this. Is if you had a good race, you're going to say, yeah, it was pretty fun. If you had a bad race, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So it's it comes with setting these schedules up. You're never going to have everybody happy with racing at a track or a track configuration in this case. So we'll just see how the race unfolds as we have more cars. I'm just kind of looking down. Christian Lisiak up 12 positions, almost the hard charger. Flavio Andlo up 13. So Flavio doing a really good job of navigating all the messes and making his way up through the field.
I gotta say, as we're following the drivers a little bit farther up the road, I love the yin and the yang, just the complete opposite dynamic for some races compared to others. Because as pure pandemonium breaks out everywhere other than the top 5, those drivers in the top 5 are probably bracing themselves to take a nap and put on autopilot. It is just like the case of whiplash that we have from our own perspective here in the broadcast booth, just seeing, okay, here are drivers just all trying to kill each other and go for outrageous moves as Hugh Simpkins and Karthik Pai get past, that was Michaela Biglini, down into turn number 8. As that chaos goes on, with drivers shuffling each other off the racetrack, going for these lunges and the moves, up at the front, I think the only bit of drama we've really seen is Ian Joyner get overtaken by Kane Halliburton. I think Nathaniel Schramm could have moved on Felix Samoas to jump his way up into the podium. Outside of that, these racers probably feel like they're in a cafe, while everybody else feels like they're on a sports riot a couple of blocks down.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think the guys up front know that, they're going to have to work through some lap traffic. That's going to be a problem later on in the race, but they're just trying to get themselves to that pit stop. And that's when the race is really going to start for those guys up near the front of the field. They're going to have to really focus in and have a really, really clean and quick stop, get in and out of the pits and avoid the traffic as you're trying to get to that point. But I was just kind of thinking, I wonder if this is going to be one of those, we're going to have a really, really late pit cycle where the pit cycle is going to be up around the 35-minute mark as far as because I can't imagine they're really got a heavy fuel load or a heavy fuel usage here on such a short track.
And that's a good point that he raised, Charles. This track really nothing like any other track that we race at this season. So I got to wonder how the strategy side of things will get affected when it comes to fuel burning. And we have certainly seen in terms of the drivers' philosophies heading off into this race. I thought that was going to be some 3-wide racing there with those Beck, Adrian, and Lukanov, I'll be honest. And Survey says it is 3-wide racing. That was the first time anything that I've ever said has actually come true. And that was horribly off into the turn for Dmitry Lukanov. He kept it on the road. How the hell did he keep that on the island as he headed his way down to turn number 2? And not only did he keep it on the road, he's going to hold on to that spot. So they're side by side still down into Tower Bend. Will it be Lukanov or will it be Osbeck as they're still side by side heading down into turn number 6? Osbeck going to hold on to the inside line, may be able to get the upper hand in here because with that killer curb on the outside, Lukanov has a really tough ask on his hands to hold on to that spot, but he still keeps it down to the inside, fires it off down into turn number 8, still side by side as they head their way out of the turn under the bridge. They're going to go. Osbeck with a bit of a sideways snap, able to keep that momentum rolling and finally held on to that. That was a half a lap of racing, which felt like it went by in just about nothing. It is still not over though, as Lukanov going to utilize that draft to try and get the move done around the outside to the hairpin. Will Lukanov finally make this move stick after trying for the past whole lap? No, he's still side by side as they head their way down to Fangio.
Yeah, it's just still side by side is Lukanov trying to get through. This is one of the few. We got Osbeck coming into the pits, and Lukanov's going to take that position as well. Scott Russell's going to move up. Kevin Adrian's going to move up. So Ozbak says, you know what, that was fun, but I don't want to do it for another lap. So let me come into the pits. Just thinking that turn coming out of the hairpin, was really the only, not really very many left-handers here. So if you stay on the inside line around this track, it's going to be very difficult to pass as we've got the leaders coming up on some more lap traffic. That maybe is that Bellini as well. It's Nunez, Kurt Nunez. Wow. Kurt Nunez getting lapped, and we're only 17 minutes into this race.
Yeah, so many a racer already struck by falling anvil, looking to try and get out of harm's way with a bit of a headache as Jason Grider's just diving out of harm's way to avoid holding up your race leaders as he got involved in some drama a little bit earlier on in this race. Kane Halliburton still holds on to the race lead in Joyner Slide in P2. Nathaniel Schrem and Felix Samoza, I thought they were going to go side by side down to 1, but they thought better of it as Antonio Reese on the first drive was up towards the far north of the field to make that decision to come down pit lane. Intriguing stuff from Reese. Will it stick, and will that maybe set a trend of racers coming down pit lane?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, because of what we just saw with the battle with Ozbek and Lukanov. I don't know that the undercut's going to be very, very a very smart idea here, just because it's so difficult to pass. You saw them battling. If you get somebody that just doesn't want to give you the position, all they got to do is kind of ride the inside line. It's very difficult to get around them unless you're just that much quicker. So I'm not sure the undercut is the right play here, but we'll see, as we do have looks like Rivera's kind of dropping off the pace there just a little bit.
Fortunate for Rivera to lose touch of that pack. Even though this isn't a draft-heavy race, this still important to try and remain in tow. As here we go, that's Nathaniel Schrem trying to get a move done on Ian Joyner. Joyner going to sweep around the outside through turn number 1 to hold on to that spot. Now holding on to the inside through Collier Bend. Schrem stuck on the outside. He's going to have a risk on his hands as Samoa's thought about making the move stick, but wasn't able to get it done. And all that battling, Rivera slowly but surely gets. But this is usually a pretty big indicator that drivers will be coming down pit lane sooner rather than later. If they're just running in a line and really saying, you know what, let's take it easy, they're probably still in the midst of their pit window, in the midst of their cycle. But if everybody is just, I wouldn't necessarily say beating each other over the head with hammers, but whatever phrase you want to use, that's basically what we've got going on up to the front. That may be a sign that we could have some pit stops coming up here soon.
Yeah, as we on board here with Kurt Nunez, looked like they were coming through Tower, we're coming into 6, and just misses the corner. Just Kurt having some issues, and I think he's towed back. So I don't know if that was a hardware issue or not, but he is towed back to the pits, and I think he is done for the day. So obviously not having a great race, as we just saw the leaders lapping him, but obviously having maybe more issues as well. As we get the battle here between Jason Grider and Chris Murakami. JG1, as he's called in the community, struggled a little bit a couple of times. We saw him kind of screw up the hairpin just a touch, and so kind of down the order. But Murakami also down the order as well. Just I don't normally see. Chris is usually a pretty good driver as far as the Masters drivers are concerned. He's usually up north of the the middle of the pack somewhere, and but not today, not having a great run. So we're seeing a lot of our drivers that we would see in the front of the field, or at least challenging to be in the front of the field, really struggling with this circuit today.
Yeah, I can't even say I'm entirely surprised by that, just based off how bizarre this track is. It's not one that gets use in real life in terms of actual racing. It does get use as the site of IndyCar testing throughout the stupidly long IndyCar offseason. They usually test their street circuit configurations here just because it is so apocalyptically bumpy, which is very funny when you realize that this is the smooth part of Sebring. If we're racing on the bottom half, I think it's the modified lap as it's marked off in iRacing, running on the back half of the circuit, I think these drivers would probably sound like they're riding on a helicopter with how choppy their voice would be sounding, hitting all the bumps in that very choppy part of the racetrack. But the Sebring Club setup layout doesn't get used in terms of racing, really just gets used as a testing venue for IndyCar, and that's pretty much it. But we do use it here in the sim. We have used it in all 3 of the Weekend Warriors, and this is just the latest race, as we've got the latest racing between Nicholas Rycroft and Brad Cathcart down into the braking zone of the hairpin. Who's going to win out in this fight? Will it be Cathcart on the outside? Will it be Rycroft on the inside? Give it to Cathcart on the outside line.
Yeah, I think we actually even used this with the Miatas, the MX-5s in the Ray Esports Club Racing League that hopefully will be coming back in the fall. And so, yeah, we've seen it before, not a lot. And as far as the IndyCar testing here, yeah, I was familiar with that. And if you've ever seen a IndyCar race at either Detroit or Toronto on their street circuits, you understand why they need as many bumps for testing as possible, because those tracks are absolutely atrocious.
I would love to see an IndyCar run through the back half of Sebring. I would love to see that done with an AI behind the wheel, because I would not want an actual driver to do that, because their spine would probably get turned into dust just heading through turn number 1 alone. Here side-by-side racing with Ben Rycroft and Antonio Reese. Reese going to have the upper hand in that battle there. Reese currently holds on to the P2 spot in the Masters category, which is currently being led by Jurg Mani. Alexander Gorson's up the board in Spec 2's. Kane Halliburton continues to be the Pied Piper of this field, leads over Ian Joyner, over Nathaniel Schramm, looking to see who can get either their first win this season or maybe their second in the case of Halliburton and Schramm. Nathaniel Schramm, as we said, your winner last time out at Tsukuba. Halliburton, the winner in race 1 of the season at Alton Park, and also the winner in the Weekend Warriors 5th anniversary special. Joyner, though, a past champion of the Formula Fords, looking to stake his claim here in the Spec racer Ford season, as here he goes down the inside, off into turn number 1. The side-by-side racing that we've been expecting up in the front for quite some time, gonna go on, and Schramm, ever the opportunity, is gonna try and make a move done on Ian Joyner, is gonna be on the inside down to Tower Bend.
Yeah, absolutely. Great move there by Schramm, tighten that group up. And you can just see, I'm just kind of watching the time tick down as Rivera's already made up almost a second on this group just from that battling. And that's what I've said is, he's dropped off a little bit from that front pack, but as the battles, heat up in the front, that brings a lot of more cars up there into that battle. So, we're starting to see the gloves come off a little bit as these cars are starting to fight some, and that may tell me that there'll be some guys that won't come into the pits very, very soon just to get out of the mess. They won't want to fight at the 25-minute mark of a 40-minute race. They're going to want to save that for the last 5 or 7 minutes.
They're still side by side in that battle for P2 and P3. Kane Halliburton looking to drive off into the sunset as these racers continue to throw haymakers at each other moment after moment, turn after turn. Schramm going to jump his way up into P2 as that is Ian Joyner now feeling the pressure from Felix Samoas. Edwin Rivera has really lost touch with this battle. He's still there, but it's a heck of a lot farther back than he once was, as that was nearly an attempted overtake from Kevin Adrian on Dmitry Lukanov. These two drivers in the Spec 2 category battling it out for a spot here in this race as they continue to worry about their respective championship battle over in the Formula 4s. But here in these SRFs, they're just battling for a spot inside the top 10, the final 2 spots inside the top 10 for that matter, as we look all throughout this field. Now coming up to the final 14 minutes, and gotta wonder with some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road, I wonder if these competitors will maybe consider a pit stop here soon.
Yeah, maybe so, as we're coming up to the back of Ligiac and the 905 car of Cathcart as they're getting ready to put a lap down. And I believe, I'm just going to check, both those guys have pitted already. So Liziak is sitting there sitting there just in front of the lead group, and let's see how much if they give them some room here to move through, or if they're going to just kind of stay held and hold them up a bit, because obviously they're in a battle themselves, and it looks like Halliburton's going to push his way through, so he's opened the door. That's going to allow the rest of the field to start working their way through. So they'll be able to clear through Ligiac pretty quickly, and now Cathcart is the next car up, and they're going to try and take care of him as well. Because we have more pits. We got Gorson, Adrian, and Rycroft all in the pits now.
So the small sprinkling of pit stops that we've had thus far starting to ramp up as we get closer and closer to the end of this race. Looks like Halliburton and Schramm have dealt with both of those bits of lap traffic. Christian Lisiak has been overtaken by pretty much everybody in the top 4. Speaking of an overtake, that's Nathaniel Schramm trying to get an overtake done on Kane Halliburton down to the hairpin, not able to make it work as in all of that battling, Cathcart got overtook by that top 4. He's now involved in a battle with himself and Lisiak. That's for the final 2 spots inside the top 30. Those lap cars still have their own little battle to worry about here. As here's your Spec 2 leader of Dmitry Lukhanov as a result of the pit stops. And speaking of, there's 2 drivers right in front of him making the call to come down pit lane, and he will join them. It's going to be Jason Green, Jurg Mani, and Dmitry Lukhanov, the latest racers to come down pit lane. That only leaves a select smattering of racers yet to come down pit lane, really looking throughout most of the field, with a couple of exceptions a little bit farther in the back. Jason Grider, funnily enough, has yet to come down pit lane, slide down in P35. Currently, the top 6 have yet to come into the pits, and then with a couple of exceptions a little bit farther down, the likes of Thomas Renders, Daniel Wood, who stays out for one more lap, Colin Earl, and Flavio Andelo, my apologies, yet to come down pit lane. Pretty much everybody else has come in. We're just waiting on the money stops here soon.
Yeah, so Jason Green actually beat Antonio Reese as he came out of the pits. They were fighting before the pit stop, so you see Antonio did not get any benefit from the undercut. However, the third driver in there, Jurg Mani, very long pit stop in 33 seconds. So I don't know what happened to Jurg there. Maybe he blew through the pit lane and had to back up, but obviously that's going to take him out. He's down in P19, so he's back out on the track, but obviously not in the position that he was prior to that pit stop, as Samoas and Rivera are now in the pits. They've broken off that front group.
Yeah, so the top 6 who haven't come into the pits yet, going to break up half and half. Samoas, Rivera, and Scott Russell come down pit lane. Josh Justice going to shuffle out in front of Russell as Samoa's going to exit out in front of Rivera, who's going to be close with himself and Josh Justice in that battle for P5 that Justice actually got to get the upper hand of there. So well done to Josh Justice. Really quiet throughout this race, but he's now jumped his way up into the top 5. Now waiting for the top 3 to come down pit lane. Will Halliburton, Schramm, and Joyner be united in this call to come down pit lane, or are they maybe going to go their separate ways with this strategy? Halliburton and Joyner, Weekend Warriors veterans, Nathaniel Schramm, who's really been impressive thus far this season. Those top 2 looking to contend for a championship. Joyner looking to go out trophy hunting here this season. Who will be the next to come down pit lane? It's going to be Halliburton and Schramm and Joyner. They all come into the pits at the exact same time. May have seen a little bit of a swap-a-roo there with Halliburton and Schramm as they came down pit lane. But here we go. The money stops, unfortunately, here with we've got the pit lane rather far out of sight and far out of view, but we will let you know who's going to come out on top and whether or not they will come out in front of these 2 that we've got on screen right now. That's actually a lap car running right behind Felix Samoas, who may have played this out to perfection. He's running all by his lonesome. Will he come out with a race lead? Who knows? It's Nathaniel Schramm and Kane Halliburton were duking it out on pit exit. Samoa is going to blow their doors off to jump into the race lead as Schramm and Halliburton chase each other's tails. Samoas chase his way up to the front.
Nicely done by Samoas to take the lead on the pit cycle. Schramm did a good job, first car out. And so now Schramm with a 10.3 stopped in the pits, and significantly lower than some of the other cars. So just kind of curious now. We always kind of talk about how much fuel. Ooh, as you see the almost contact there coming out of the pits. But great job by Schramm, just hanging on to the position, and now he's got to track down Samoas. But does he have enough fuel on board in order to run that car at full pace for the final 8 minutes?
And that is the real question. Nobody wants to pick up the Thompson Trophy here today. I say that knowing fully well that he's probably going to fire right back off at me during the interviews on XSLR later on tonight here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and probably reveal some very embarrassing stuff that I may have potentially told him early on in my broadcasting days here on SMB back about over a year ago. Not sure if he knows my social security number, though, which I'm very thankful for. Jump back to a battle here involving Flavio Andelo. He's been on the comeback tour in that number 13 car after not saying a qualifying time. He's currently running P23 P3 presently, so well done to him. As one more spot to gain, that's Daniel Wood in the 280 cars. A black flag in the air for Chris Murakami. That has to be for incidents. Murakami, the latest racer to fall victim to the incident points here at Sebring.
Yeah, tough break for Chris. Obviously, we were talking about him earlier. Just being a little off, struggling a little bit today. And so black flag for incident points has come down and served a drive-through penalty. As we still got this battle going on, you see, obviously, that car has been in the wars as well with the front end damage, as he's just there in front of, is that Chris Thorpe? Yeah, maybe Chris Thorpe. Or was that Felix Samoa? It's not Felix Samoa, that's the leader. They're coming up to lap him again. So, yeah. So, he's going to pull over and he's going to serve his drive-through. That's a good time. Gets out of the leader's way. And so now you've got a little bit of a gap. You see Schramm just behind Samoa's, and we have a lap car involved there. And then you have Halliburton sitting there in third. So he'll want to make quick work of that lapped car. Maybe Jeff Jacobson. Trying to find the number. No.
I think Paul Jackson may potentially
Paul
be
Jackson.
in there.
Yeah, Paul Jackson. Okay. All right.
Look very similar. I think I've seen that car. I associate the cars of Paul Jackson. I feel bad saying this because this happened many, many moons ago. I think it was in the 40th Weekend Warriors runoffs at Daytona when he front flipped it about 4 times on the road course. I still have that memory embedded into my head. That was back when we were working off at a different broadcaster that we will not mention by name, because otherwise I will have to return a heck of a lot of money. Andre Favini and Flavio Andelo now have their own little battle. I'm just kidding. For legal reasons, that is a joke. Andelo up 19 spots from where he started in this race as well, so really looking to be on the comeback tour. Kevin Adrian as well, also up 10 spots. Lots of racers picking their way through the chaos, the smoke, and the drama here at Sebring today, and may have to add in one more driver in that hard charger competition. It's Hugh Simpkins slotted down in P19. Has some room to grow as he's got Matt Thompson right in front of him and Dirk Braun a little bit farther up the road. So that P9, that 9 spots gained and that P19 spot could maybe turn into a P17 here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that the battle is starting to heat up for the Spec 2 podium positions. As you got Gorson leading in P8, you got Adrian sitting there at P9, about 1.8 back, and then another second and a half back is Lukanov. So those guys are going to have to keep their focus for the final 5 minutes and really hit some hot laps. Otherwise, the order may change there. So it's going to be a nice battle to watch to see if that tightens up over the next couple of laps as we're coming up to the sharp end of the stick here with Samoa, Schramm, Halliburton, and then Joyner just off the pace, off the lead by about 3.5 seconds. So going to be out of this at least for today. Obviously very fast, but obviously caught out by the a little bit slow on the pit stop, so maybe took a little more fuel than the other cars. So once again, fuel may be an issue here before we get done.
I'm actually looking at the times down in the pit stall for your top 4. Samoa's 12.3, Schramm 10.4, Halliburton at 11.7, and Ian Joyner at 15.7. So I'm not sure whether or not he's been feeding his mechanics Thanksgiving turkey or what the deal was. I do want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to our neighbors up north there in Canada. And I was unaware that's actually Thanksgiving in Canada until I got told by Josh. Flavio Andelo currently with the black flag. We jinxed him.
Yeah, we did. And then we got Favini with massive damage on the front. Both cars coming into the pits at the same time, and Andelo having to really lock it up. Favini really having to lock it up as they came into the pits. As you see him riding on board here, we're going to see where some damage came from. I think we might, as we work our way down into the hairpin, and Andelo going around, and nothing you can do there. So that's the cause of the black flag and the damage on the car. So both cars having to come down the pits as we see Schramm coming into the pits. So that answers the question about did he put enough fuel on the car? So he's having to come down and get that splash done, and back out he comes. It was a very quick one, only 3 seconds or so, but just enough as we see Jorg Motti with a slowdown that's been cleared. And we got it again, so he's off the track somewhere. Jorg not have had a once again had a very slow pit stop and has dropped him down to P16.
So as we expected, the fuel going to play a factor in how this race shakes out. It's music to the ears of Felix Samoas, who now holds on to a 9/10 of a second gap between himself and Kane Halliburton, who at this point, I'm sure he's probably going to go for it just to spite me and what I'm about to say. Doesn't really need to go for it in reference to the championship, as he'll be finishing in front of Schramm leaving this race, as that's Brad Cathcart having to dodge through the cones and go into the roll-off area on the outside, turn number 10. So that is a quick little off-track excursion for him. Nothing major down into the turn. Halliburton, though, again, I said that he was going to push it just because I said that he didn't need to. Halliburton sets the quick time with a 1:10.860 and now has Samoas in his sights.
Yeah, he does. As we got something from, you say, Jeff Jacobson. So, yeah, they're coming up to the back of Jacobson. Yep. So they're getting ready to hit some more lap traffic, and that's going to be, it could be, you never can tell with traffic. It's either going to help you or hurt you. So let's see what it does as Halliburton is really closing that gap down. So Samoas wants that good draft from the car in front. That's going to help him keep a little bit of an advantage, or at least equalize the pace advantage, as we see a little blink there from Samoas as they work their way around Jacobson. And it looks like they're coming up to the back of Chris Thorpe, which is one of Samoa's teammates, same livery, that 116 Motorsport livery. And the gap is still about 0.8 of a second between P1 and P2.
2 to go, this time by here at Sebring, and Samoas now has a task on his hand. Has some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road. Thankfully, it's his teammate, shall we say, in the other in that car. So we'll have to see whether or not that's going to affect it. I don't think it will here in the Weekend Warriors. You usually don't see teammates just decide to screw over the competitors that they're racing with. Is Tom Gradwell. Big double lockup down into the hairpin, going to cause him to spear off the track, knock a cone, so plus 2 seconds for him in his race as he nearly gets overtaken by Chris Murakami on the exit there. Here we go. That's Chris Thorpe getting overtaken there by Felix Samoas. A black flag in the air for Marcel Gorson, so he is going to go down even more from that P31 spot that he's currently in right now. Halliburton had to go round the inside, really, on Chris Thorpe as they came out of turn number 8 to deal with that lap traffic. So it has not necessarily brought that gap closer, really, but Halliburton has kept him honest here on the final lap, but will it be enough? With 0.6 of a second, it's going to be at the line between Felix Samoas and Kane Halliburton. The white flag going to be in the air. One more lap of racing action here at Sebring, and as Felix Samoas looking to hold on and get his first win here in Season 4 of 2025. The real question is, will Kane Halliburton risk it for the biscuit, get this move done? I know Kane Halliburton, he is a ruthless competitor, and will that driver, the number 12 car, risk it at the very end of this race? Again, win number 2 for him here this season. Nathaniel Schramm has made another call to come down pit lane. His race is absolutely unraveled at the end. Not only did he underfuel the first time, he underfueled the second time. Disaster for Nathaniel Schramm in that number 26 car. But as we see Felix Samoas and Kane Halliburton now covered by about 4.5 of a second, down off through turn number 8 for the final time. They got Brad Cathcart a little bit farther up the road, but I think he may be a bit out of reach if he is going to battle, though. If he is going to hold him up, we may have a photo finish here at Sebring, but I think that Cathcart is just a little bit farther up the road that Samoas may not have to worry about it. Oh, actually, he will. You can see closes up quite a lot as they come out of the turn. Gonna hold him up on the exit of the hairpin. We may have a photo finish to talk about here at Sebring as Samoa is gonna try and deal with that lap traffic of Brad Cathcart. They come up to the line. Not gonna be enough, but it will close up that gap somewhat, but just not enough for Kane Halliburton to get the job done, even after setting the fifth lap of the race on the final lap. Felix Samoas gets the win here at Sebring. Halliburton comes home a quarter of a second behind to finish at P2. Ian Joyner rounds out your podium in third. Antonio Reese going to win it in the Masters category yet again, with Alexander Gorson coming across the line in P7 at the end of today to score his second win in a row in that Spec 2 category here in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. We are expecting this race to be dramatic, and it most certainly was.
It absolutely was a very hectic race. It's just something we don't see very often. Lots of lap traffic to deal with. Is we got a Thompson Trophy? Yeah,
That's
we
Schramm.
do indeed. That Schramm Schramm with 3 pit stops a day and still didn't get enough fuel in the car. Where's he going to finish? He didn't make it across in P18. So tough day at the office for Nate. I'm sure he, if he had a chance to do that over, he would have said, I need to put an extra 2 or 3 seconds of fuel in the car in order to just get this home. But unfortunate for Nate, such a great driver, was up there battling for the win. And who was the other one? Guido? Andelo also with a Thompson trophy for running out of fuel before the end of the race. But a great battle up front, some really good driving, some things we're not used to seeing, like I said, with lap traffic, but still great battles up front, and just shows you the technical proficiency of some of these drivers, just putting on a really good show today.
I do want to apologize to anybody who had their ears thoroughly befuddled by the noise that came out of my mouth when I said that's Schramm as he ran out of fuel coming across the line. I sounded like an old Catholic nun there at the end of that race. Oh, ooh. What in the world did we oh, golly. These drivers find new and inventive ways to just destroy their cars week after week. All of them are going to need to visit www.metroautorebuild.com after that.
Absolutely. As you see, just the bowling has started as they just straight line in the hotel hairpin, and then just finding themselves down here in the bottom of the track. And as I think somebody said, I found the exit, I'll see my way out. Just drives off. But once again, great race. And obviously this is how these guys blow off steam, both literally and figuratively, as you see all the cars smoking. Oh, there's another one coming in over the tire barrier. So yeah, fun race. Once again, something we're not used to. And I think once again, if we took a poll, there's probably about half the field that says, let's do that again. About the other half says, no, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Yeah, there's some drivers who want to see this track return, and others that I think would be quite happy if they never had to turn a lap around this racetrack ever again, which, yep. As it should be, question mark, I'm not really sure. We'll potentially get the opportunity to ask some of these racers what they think about this track. For now, though, let's take a look at the results, just to wipe my memory of like 5 cars merged into one there. Felix Samoas is your race winner at the end of today. Kane Halliburton got come home in P2. Oh boy. Ian Joyner rounds out your podium in 3rd. Edwin Rivera got finished this race in 4th. Antonio Reese wins it in the Masters category, yet again finishing this race in an overall P5. Jason Green gonna walk away with P6 at the end of the day, with Alexander Gorson winning in Spec 2 in front of Dmitry Lukanov, right behind in P8 overall. Colin Earl, who will finish this race in 9th. Kevin Adrian in 10th. Joachim Osbeck in P11. Scott Russell in P12. Josh Justice finishes this race in P13. Do want to correct myself from a little bit earlier on. I said that he had made his way up into the top 5. Yeah, that's because he hadn't come down pit lane, so there's a mental aptitude from me put on full display. Jörg Monty got finished this race in P14 with Matt Thompson and Ben Rycroft finishing in 15th and 16th. Dirk Brunn will finish in 17th. Nathaniel Schramm, a frankly disastrous end to this race, will finish in P18. With Hugh Simpkins and Thomas Renders rounding out your top 20.
Yeah, Dan Wood finishes in 21st. Andy Milton in 22nd. Karthik Pai finishing in 23rd. Christian Lisiak finishes in 24th. Andrea Favini 25th. Flavio Andelo 26th. And the final car on the lead lap, Brad Cathcart 27th. Chris Thorpe in 28th. Jeff Jacobs in 29th. Paul Jackson finishes in 30th. Tom Gradwell 31st. Chris Murakami 32nd. Marcel Gorson 33rd. Ian Gibson 34th. Josh Wilkie 35th. Nicholas Rycroft finishes in 36th. Jason Grider ends up in 37th. Paulo Brema in 38th. Michele Valini finishing in 39th. Kurt Nunez finishes in 40th. 41st is Russ Telker. And the final driver was Adam Bradshaw, I believe. That's what that was. And that's your 42 car finishing order.
Yeah, so 42 starters and probably 21 drivers hoping that we never return and 21 drivers hoping that we do return. I think we'll have to see if it's a full 50-50 split. We'll report back for you that information come time for next week's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting at Watkins Glen. But let's take a look take a look at that. I think let's have a chat with some drivers. We'll take a look in that interview waiting area to see who wants to have a chat with us. I think we'll get things up and rolling by having a chat with your race winner here today, Felix Moaz, with a rather mighty drive going to join us here in the commentary booth. Felix, welcome in. P1 for you here at Sebring in a pretty wild race. How was it out there from your perspective behind the wheel?
I mean, I'm over the moon to beat Kane on pace. Honestly, I'm really happy with my performance today. I mean, I was confident. I had a good enough pace to have a good result. But I mean, Kane is the alien, right? So it's always hard. And then I stayed a lot of time behind, saving fuel, and I was a bit afraid because it has happened to me that because I'm being in that position for the whole first part of the race, then I don't have enough fuel to finish the race due to the calculations how it works, because it's based on average consumption. So even when Nathaniel went to pass, okay, I let him go. I didn't want to go into any stress before the pit stop, because as we follow this race is after the pit stop that the race really happens. Until then it's just to burn fuel. And then I was kind of surprised that I came out in front after the pit stops. Nathaniel wasn't passing. I wasn't sure if he didn't want to slow us down because Kane was a bit behind and he wasn't really catching up. But then he went into the pit, so I assume he had underfueled, so he was also trying to save maybe. And then the last couple of laps, I don't know how many, there was just between me and Kane. He was faster, slightly faster than me. He had a bit of draft, but I don't think he needed that anyways. But I managed to push. I pushed hard as I could without making mistakes, and in the end I got the win. I'm super happy, especially because I was considering not doing this race.
Kind of speaking about your thoughts on this race, I want to ask you about this track. Charles and I were joking throughout a vast majority of this show how probably half of the field never wants to see this track ever again, and the other half probably wants to see this track every single week. So I want to ask you what you think about this rather intriguing, interesting configuration of Sebring.
It's funnily enough for me, this configuration is the turns I like about Sebring, so I don't mind it, because the other ones I don't do very well. I mean, I really don't have an opinion. This is, it's the same track, a bit shorter, so why would people not like this comparison? Yeah, they may prefer the other, but to hate this one, I don't understand. How can be such a... Okay, fair enough. But the thing is, my point is exactly the only difference is the shortcut, because the rest of the track is the same. Okay, you have on the full layout you have two more big straightaways, but that I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse because of draft. So honestly, yeah. Fair enough. I will.
Yeah, hearing from Guido there in the production truck that you should have seen the stuff that was going on behind you. My vocal cords, and I'm sure Charles as well can attest to the chaos that was going on behind you. But Felix, I want to ask you about next week's race at Watkins Glen. It's another classic American road course, but that is always set to be a draft-heavy race.
Exactly. That is the track where... I mean, I said that the race happens after the pit stop. On that one, the race happens after crossing the line for the last lap. Because until then, yeah, you just have to be roundabout in the first 3 or 4 positions, and then on the last lap, it's when things will happen. And I mean, unless there is something happens and the pack gets broken away, and then there's always like these 2-3 pack cars. But that's how I like Watkins Glen. It's a very fast track. It suits this car well. Lots of draft. But let's see how it goes.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that race, whatever chaos may come out of it in 1 week's time here on SMB. But Felix, before we let you go and celebrate this win, we'll let you give the thanks and shout outs.
As usual, everybody involved taking place. The guys who keep the league running and making sure this is a nice place for us all be and have fun. You guys in the commentary booth, sponsors who can pay for your job, your work, and that we can then afterwards go and watch. It's always fun. I really like to do that. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Well, hey, Felix, congratulations on the win today. Congratulations on surviving the storm at Sebring, shall we say. And looking forward to seeing you out there next time at Watkins Glen.
Thanks. Cheers.
And that right there was Felix Simoes, your race winner here today. And Charles, we got some more drivers up there in the interview waiting area, so I'll let you have the pick on who you want to have a chat with.
Well, let's bring in Father Guido's favorite driver, Antonio Reese, our Masters class winner today. Antonio, congratulations on the class victory. You kind of got broke off of the lead group there, and then made a really kind of a different strategy call. Came into the pits really early. You were running with Jason Green and Jorg Monty, and just said, I think I just want to get out of this, and came into the pits. So do you feel like that was a good strategy, or do you think maybe that didn't work out as well as you thought it might?
Risk you the biscuit. How do you say? You risk you get the biscuit.
Yeah, you are kind of low there, Antonio.
Oh,
yep.
sorry. No. I have a different device turned on. I'm going to.
That's better. We'll see if we can get Antonio's technical issues resolved.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Much better. Better.
I was the as you said, Charles. It was exactly like that. I was, a little bit stressed. I was afraid of slowing down Jason and Manny. I didn't want to slow them down, but I didn't want also to let them pass. So I decided to pit and then see what's going to happen. And then, it was my risk for the biscuit.
There you go. All right. Well, you end up 3 positions up, so you had a good run, and so I don't think the undercut necessarily hurt you, but not like with this track. It was very, very difficult to make passes out there today, and I just, I'm sure that's what you were experiencing as well as you were trying to find your way back up to the field. Yeah,
a few times. Yeah, I got some. Little bit when I get traffic, to try to as soon as possible get a clean lap again with the front clean air in the front. So I was a little bit trying to get as quickly as possible to overlap the slower guys. So but overall was not worried too much. I just enjoy and have fun. So I have an eye on the results, but I also have another eye on the friendship and then on the good mood with everyone. So
absolutely. I think that's the way everybody should be driving. So next week we'll be at Watkins Glen, and we've all kind of experienced that before. So obviously very, very draft heavy race. A couple of places where you're gonna have to do some fancy braking and some fancy turning, but for the most part, it's just stay in line. Felix said that basically at a race like this, the race doesn't start till after the pit stop, and at a race like that, it doesn't start till the last couple of laps. So how are you feeling about that? Pretty much the same?
Oh no, the track is very different. It's nothing to do with this Sebring short version, and it's a lot of draft. It's just you just have to stay with the guys, whatever is there, and then just stick together with them, and then cross fingers that no one crash in front of you. Basically.
Yeah. Well, I just thought about this, that we did have a configuration change at Watkins Glen. We've got some new curbing installed at the bus stop. So if we're going to use that layout, that might be something we have to look at.
Yeah, it's something we not used, so we probably we have 1 hour practice, so we can figure it out in 1 hour, I think. And then we have 20 minutes qualification more, so it is enough time to figure it out, I think.
All right, Antonio. Well, congratulations on the
Thank
class
you.
victory. And we'll let you get any thanks or shout outs and let you go and celebrate. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. As usual for all the guys and for you guys on the broadcast and Steve Ray, as well for the viewers, YouTube viewers, and all the drivers. Yeah, and for the sponsors, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, take care,
Thank
guys.
you, Antonio. We'll see you next week.
Okay, see you. Yeah, bye.
And I missed him on the first shot. That right there was Antonio Reese as I failed to drag him out of the commentary booth. Expert professionalism there. And we have a little bit of time to have a quick little chat, I believe, with Ian Joyner at the end of this race. Ian, welcome into the broadcast booth. P3 for you at the end of this race here at Sebring. How was it out there?
It was okay. It was okay. I'm trying to not sound too deflated because it's a podium, and I just can't complain with such a big field. But oh man, I just had a slightly slow stop. My own finger trouble, really. It's just so deflating to be at the front the whole way through and then not get to really take part in the last battle. But Felix did a great job, and obviously Kane was right there as well. A bit unfortunate for Nathaniel, or I'd have been. Yeah, well, I wouldn't have been there, so at least I didn't underfuel, but I just significantly overfueled. But other than that, it's a tricky track. I think it does make some really good racing. It's just unfortunate until you've got to the fuel stop. It's just the format doesn't really encourage you to race too much.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you what your thoughts are on this track. It may not be the biggest change in the world, just a small little shortcut to make the track a heck of a lot smaller, but it was just so frenetic and crazy out there today. Yeah,
it's a difficult track to drive. Especially close to the cars as well, just because it's bumpy, the ideal line's very narrow. So getting used to these SRFs as well, they really do block when you're tight up behind someone, because the rear is so large and square. They really do block your vision a lot as well, so it's very hard to sort of spot your references if you're tight behind someone as well, and add to the fact that they're quite easy to lock the wheels anyway, plus with the bumps it's very easy for people to go into the back of people accidentally. And it's just with the draft as well, it's not a very long draft, but you've got just enough to get people alongside.
Yeah, but still a darn good race for you here today, walking away with the podium. But before we let you go, Ian, we'll first off ask you about Watkins Glen next time out before we let you give the thanks and shout outs.
Yeah, I think that should be a little bit easier, but the draft will be a bigger thing, but I think that'll be fun. Antonio then in the interview waiting area was giving me some fuel tips. I've got some homework to do, see if I can stop that from being a gremlin. It should be fun. And thanks. So as always, thanks to the league. I've had a really bad run with these ones actually. I didn't get into the first one because of it just filled up. I didn't expect the session to fill up, so I didn't make it in. Didn't even get off the line for a catalogue of problems on the 10th anniversary, and I was away last week. But it was really nice to be out tonight. Great to be racing with the WWE guys. So thanks to the league, and thanks to you guys.
And thank you as well for joining us here in the broadcast booth, Ian. Well done on the podium, and looking forward to seeing you out there at Watkins Glen next time out.
See you there. Cheers, guys.
And that right there was Ian Joyner, our race podium finisher here today. I nearly said race winner. That would have been a bit of a kick in the shins to him. But Charles, what a wacky race. This was truly the wacky race to end all wacky races.
It really was. Obviously, anytime we go to a kind of a not normal configuration of a racetrack, it always tends to bring some different challenges. But for the most part, we did see some of our normal front runners and mid pack guys struggle a bit today. But overall, really good race. We only had a couple of really big incidents that took some drivers out, but for the most part, really good race. And obviously, that battle up front was fun to watch. And one more lap, and we might have been having a different result there, because Halliburton obviously gained quite a bit of time there coming to the finish line. So really good race, and looking forward obviously to Watkins next week. It's my favorite track, and these cars always perform well. This group of drivers always perform well at Watkins, not without its share of potential disasters as well. But we'll talk about that a little more next week.
Yeah, between then and now, we got a lot of actions to look forward to. Later on tonight here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we have round number 6 of XSLR running the big block modifieds on the dirt version of the USA International Speedway. And around that same time, you can catch the first race of the Libertyville iRacing League running at Lime Rock Park with the MX-5s. American Muscle Series is going to be running their second to last round of the championship this upcoming Tuesday, same night as the Sim Racers Group F4 action at Circuit of the Americas. SRG F3 going to be at the Red Bull Ring this upcoming Wednesday. And then next weekend, we have got you covered with Formula V's running at Alsher-Slaben, the Formula Fords running at Road Atlanta, and the Spec Racer Fords running at Watkins Glen. You can see the rest of the action in due course. Gives you a good reason to subscribe. Once again, I want to give a shout out to Metro Auto Rebuild, the sponsor here of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here in Season 4 of 2025. You can check them out by going to MetroAutoRebuild.com. And if you are interested in sponsoring the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors broadcast here on SMB, you can by joining the SMB Discord server and getting in contact with Mr. Stevie Ray. However, for this broadcast here, for round number 3 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors here at Sebring, that will do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.